Don't mind what's on my head right now. I'm about to actually go deep condition my hair. But I wanted to stop because I wanted to talk about the post that I made years ago about, do black women really know the structure of our hair? And let me tell you how I ended up coming to that question, right? Or arriving to that question. So, when I was in my master's program, I was taking molecular biology, I think, for the last semester. I was so happy when I was done with that class. And one of the papers I had to write was, of course, it had to deal with molecular biology and biochemical cascades. I talked about male pattern baldness. And mind you, I'm just looking for anything that relates to hair so that I can have a better understanding of hair in general, and particularly hair that is relative or relates to kinky textured hair. So I decided to do a paper on male pattern baldness. And one of the topics was about this cascade known as the Wnt beta signaling cascade. And I believe, because it was 6 years ago that I did this paper, it was what I concluded was that water content in the cells was essential or played a significant role in the upregulation or downregulation of other signals within the cell. And that up or down regulation or that cascade determined if you were going to have hair growth or hair loss. So it started making me think like, okay, if water content is important for hair growth, the higher the content, the more you end up with a better structure of hair and you end up with hair growth. I started thinking, is that why our hair as black people in general have a different structure? Because our hair isn't exposed to high water content. And I knew that we did protective hairstyles, I put protective in quotes, in which our scalp and our hair was not exposed to water very often. Probably if you're doing it every 2 months, right, out of 12 months, it's 6 times out the year your hair and scalp is exposed to water. So I started thinking that when I made the connection or asked the question, do black women really know the structure of our hair? Because if water content plays a role in hair properties, hair growth, and hair, I don't want to say hair retention, but hair growth and the hair characteristics, maybe, just maybe, because we have such a low exposure to water for our scalp and for our hair, that is a reason why we have certain traits and characteristics within our hair strand and hair shaft. And at the time, I negated the current anatomy of black people's hair because I said that is really based on low water content. So maybe that's not even the real anatomy of our hair. Maybe if we have a higher exposure to water, we'll have a different properties. And so I started looking up research articles related to black hair, Afro hair, and seeing what happens with washing, whether it's daily, several times a week, or weekly washing, and what happens. And since the results for washing Afro textured hair frequently throughout the week was inconclusive, I said, well, let's see what happens, right? Let's see if water content is essential. What happens if I expose my hair and scalp to water every single day? And what happened is that water content did play a role. It did change the structure of the hair. I did see more hair growth that came in. Issue is that the anatomy, the true anatomy of Afro-textured hair does not allow for the daily washing of hair simply because it's finer and it has naturally raised cuticle layers. So daily washing is not going to work. So we're kind of like in a catch-22, right? Where you need the water content, but overexposure of water, depending on the method, your method you use that you expose to water can damage your hair. So you have to have some type of balance in between. But I knew that water content was very much essential. So when I did the daily washing, my hair was baby soft. It was just wonderful because it was exposed to water. But when it dried, it was hard. So now the question became, how do I retain water in the hair strand, right? Because I can't use a shampoo every single day. That's going to destroy the cuticle layer of my hair. That's going to contribute to dryness. It's going to contribute to mechanical damage. And I'm going to lose length retention. I'm not going to retain length. So now I had to actually accept the morphology or the biochemical structure of our hair, in which our keratin composite has more cross links than any other racial group. And now the question becomes, how do you retain water? How do you retain conditioning agents or move conditioning agents into that composite, that protein composite, and water is retained simply because we know water content is essential for the properties of the hair and for the elasticity and all of that and for the growth. How do we retain water? So I had to look at the anatomy, and that is how I ended up deriving to the point that I'm at now. So I started this, I want to say 6 years ago. And because I was getting my master's, yeah, I got my master's on COVID. Anyways, it was more time at home for me to like study. But it took me 6 years to figure out how to move water and conditioning molecules across the hair strand. In the beginning, I was somewhere in the ballpark, but then it took me 6 years to make it to home plate. The other thing is that I minored in microbiology, and I actually taught microbiology when I graduated, when I got my bachelor's. And I knew that Malassezia had metabolized lipids, and I knew which oils they were. And I kept thinking to myself, we're applying these oils to our hair. Our scalp naturally, normal microbiota has Malassezia, and that is breaking down the skin barrier. So not only do we have low water content, we have a fungal infection that is spreading on our scalp. That's also putting our scalp and our hair in a compromised position that is leading to alternative properties of our hair that is not normal. And my question still stood because it was like, do we really know the structure? The truth of the matter is that we don't, because we're not really, well, let me not say that. We know the morphology, we know the anatomy, but the characteristics of the hair and how it feels and how it performs, a lot of us, I think, don't know what it's like because we have yet to accept or adopt a method that retains water 95% of the time. So I'm going to keep those videos posted up there because it's my thought process on how everything is moving for me. But where I am now is that conditioner, I figured out biochemically, because I am a biochemist, biochemically, conditioner has to be applied to that hair plus heat plus water in order to absorb and retain water in the hair so that the hair itself can have the desirable properties that you're looking for to retain your length, be elastic, and be strong. So I'll continue the conversation. I always have thoughts, and I'll share them to the community. And, feel free to comment, feel free to criticize, whatever it is, but I will talk to you later.